Consider your childhood for a moment. A favorite memory from the time before responsibility became a daily reality. How does this memory make you feel? Relieved? Happy? Do you resent the present? Are you jealous of your old self? Perhaps you don't even want to think of that time. The past can change your present perception, but the opposite is also true. The unavoidable fact is that as you grow in age, wisdom, and experience, your perception of life changes with you. You see the world and all that's in it in drastically different ways. This doesn't mean our treasured memories are wrong, but it does mean that our thoughts can become clouded if we can't move past those old ways of thinking. The past can be healing, or it can be hemlock. The 2000s was a strange time, one of economic instability, wars on terror, obsessions with possible log-related accidents, and natural disasters. However, kids were experiencing excellent entertainment. Hanna-Barbera reruns, the Turtles resurfacing twice, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon were in their primes, and Warner Brothers Kids was still a thing. Among this flood of entertainment rose Psych. The comedy procedural made a name for itself with its quirky humor, great characterization, and wealth of 80s pop culture references. The bizarre adventures of fake psychic Sean and his best friend Gus led them straight into a Friday the 13th situation in the show's third season. After a young woman's disappearance, an old friend of the pair convinces Sean and Gus to investigate their childhood summer camp, where a killer stalks and kills from the shadows. As Sean, Gus, and Detective Juliet O'Hara fight for their lives, Detective Carlton Lassiter has dinner with his estranged wife. I'm not kidding. That's the B story for an intense episode parodying 80s slasher horror. I can't tell you the amount of times I've watched this episode wondering what these two stories could possibly have in common until one day it hit me harder than a truck sending someone into an isekai story. But before I get there, let me quickly run through the A story's resolution. After red herrings and tragedies and near misses, the killer is revealed to be one of the camp counselors named Clive, who had been acting as the comedic relief until the big reveal. In his big monologue, he confesses that the accidental death that initially shut down the camp was his father's, and in his mind, the reopening of the camp as a horror entertainment attraction was making a mockery of his death. He'd failed to process the trauma in a healthy way, so his processing of the event was tainted by it. Clive wasn't the only one, though. Throughout the episode, Sean and Gus act completely out of character, with Sean being bitter and cynical, while Gus is overeager to be involved. Their attitudes were also affected by the past. Sean felt abandoned and neglected by Gus, while Gus was riding high on his childhood camp experience. But Carlton has nothing to do with the camp, so why is his story in this episode? Some context. For the past 3 seasons, Carlton has been a staunch, if not overzealous, grumpy cop. He's constantly butting heads with Sean, dismissing Gus, and not always being the best role model for his young partner, Jules. However, in his soft moments, we can also see a sad man who is desperate to repair a long-gone relationship, even when completely rejected. This dinner was a 3-year culmination of effort that he was nervous and excited to undertake, even purchasing an expensive necklace as a peace offering, only to be told that she wanted to finalize their divorce. She runs to the restroom and returns ready for a fight with him, but he's already signed the papers. Noticing her surprise, he cites a change in his character, and they part amicably, but not before Carlton says something that explains why these two stories work together.
It's not about the past anymore, it's about tomorrow. So I'm not going to say a word.
Both stories exemplify the theme of letting go of the past, fitting for a Friday the 13th parody. Sean's present cynicism is a product of his past disappointment. Gus's eagerness comes from a place of feeling victorious. Clive's rampage comes from a trauma that either wasn't processed or was processed improperly. Carlton, however, chooses to release his disappointment before it could become a disaster. All a theme Mama Voorhees could have benefited from. Like Clive, she lost someone and felt that the loss was betrayed or ridiculed. Neither worked through that pain in a healthy way, leading to the loss of more lives that had nothing to do with their pain's origin. Carlton healed himself. Voorhees and Clive forced their pain onto others. Not to say that dealing with pain is easy. In fact, sometimes the pain just cripples you. Life is full of difficulties, and it seems that many of the struggles of living come from the connections we hold dear. Additional troubles arise when others use those painful bonds against us. Creatures in mythology and folklore exist within a range. Some are helpful, others less so. Among the latter is a subset of creatures capable of imitating others, including our loved ones. Shapeshifters, mimics, doppelgangers, all creatures known to disguise themselves as a predatory hunting strategy. The Mimic is a Korean horror film that took this concept of a mimicking menace and combined it with modern folklore. In the film, Hee-yeon moves her family into a countryside mountain village, hoping to heal her demented mother-in-law. After finding an abandoned child in the woods, Hee-yeon fights to defend the girl and her family from an unseen creature that imitates the voices of those around it. As the story progresses, we learn that Hee-yeon's family suffered the loss of a child years before, when her son suddenly disappeared, but she never gave up the hope that he was still out there somewhere. During the film's climax, Hee-yeon and her husband attempt to escape the creature's den, but when it imitates their missing son, Hee-yeon cannot bring herself to flee, staying behind to be consumed by the creature. An interesting point in the story comes from a moment of exposition. A shaman warns Hee-yeon, mentioning that as the creature feeds on her will and energy, it manifests as a progressive loss of vision. What's fascinating is that we as the audience see Hee-yeon losing sight of her biological daughter as she becomes obsessed with the girl whom she treats as a surrogate for her missing son. In fact, aside from the scenes involving the creature or Hee-yeon and her husband arguing over her obsession with their missing child, I couldn't tell you a single thing about their real daughter. Assuming this is genius writing, it perfectly encapsulates how Hee-yeon's perspective is warped. We see her spend more time watching old home movies or excusing her decision not to bring the girl to the police than we see her with her actual daughter. Her obsession with the unchangeable past has robbed her of focus just as much as the creature robs her of sight and later her life. To be clear, I'm not saying that the past can't hold positive memories or act as a motivating force for us to do good, or that anyone's pain is invalid. But we must acknowledge the ultra-thin line between happy remembrance and toxic paralysis. Our pasts can hold joy and safety, but we can't stay in those memories forever. Eventually, we will be confronted by the present reality and all of its beauty and horror. If you favor the past for too long, then you will miss out on new memories and experiences. The world is terrifying and glorious, but we can work to find what makes our present place worth remembering. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get notified the next time I drop a video. Bye-bye.